Hi, kindergarten. It's Miss Francis. I'm at home, and today I would love to read one of my favorite Easter stories to you, Rechenka's Eggs. It is by a very famous author illustrator, Patricia Polacco, and I want you guys to pay close attention to her illustrations. It is so important to make meaning of the story. And also, I want you to really listen for some special words in this story. There's going to be some special words written in Russian. So this story is based of her home native language, Russian, and you can see a little head in the background. Addie, what do you need, baby? Okay. Anyways, and I think it just adds so much interest to this story, and I'll try to pronounce them correctly and do them justice, okay, guys? All right, this is Rechenka's Eggs. Rechenka is going to be this goose. Babushka lived alone in a dacha, a little house in the country, but she was known far and wide for the fine eggs that she lovingly painted. Her eggs were so beautiful that she always won first prize at the Easter festival in Moskva. So the word babushka that you just heard is Russian for grandmother. Dacha is a little house, a little village house, and Moskva is the Russian word for Moscow, which is their most prominent city in Russia. And in that big city, she's winning first prize for the eggs that she makes. Wow. Look at these illustrations, guys. Oh my goodness. And like I said, pay close attention to the detail in the eggs. That's very important. It says, each day Babushka would take the shell of an egg from her basket and paint it in wonderful designs, using the shapes of stars and flowers, triangles and circles. Through the long, cold winter, Babushka painted. Then one day, after a snowstorm, Babushka went outside. She could still hear the faint sound of falling snow. It was a sound like soft rain. Herds of caribou came to feed at Babushka's because the grasses they usually ate were covered with snow. A miracle, she whispered as she fed some. These wild things have found their way to me. Just then a flock of noisy geese honked loudly overhead as they glided over the snow. One of them faltered and fell from the sky. Babushka went to where the goose lay crumpled in the snow. A hunter did this, Babushka grumbled. She carefully picked up the goose and took it back to her little house. There she fed the little goose from her own table and put the goose in her best basket lined with the warmest quilt from her own bed. I shall name you a good name, one that we both can like, eh, my little friend? She said as she patted the goose's head. How do you like Rechenka? Yes? Then Rechenka it shall be. With Babushka's care, Rechenka grew stronger each day as each day passed. To repay her kindness, Rechenka laid an egg for breakfast every morning. That's really nice. They're helping each other. As Rechenka got better, she waddled around the little house, exploring every nook, cupboard, and corner. One day, she jumped on top of Babushka's work table, overturning the jars of bright-colored paint that she used to color the eggs. Neat! Babushka screamed as she chased the goose with a broom. No! The frightened goose flapped her wings to get away and knocked over the basket of eggs that Babushka had so lovingly painted. The eggs crashed onto the floor and shattered into a million pieces. They were both very sad, There was no reason now for Babushka to go to the festival. Look at Babushka's expression right here. She looks so disappointed. But poor Rechenka did it on accident. The next morning, Babushka slowly got out of bed and trundled over to Rechenka's basket to get her morning egg. But when she reached into the middle of the quilt, she picked out the most brilliantly colored egg that she had ever seen. A miracle, Babushka whispered. A miracle. Can you imagine a goose that can lay a brightly colored and designed egg like that? That is a miracle. She made small holes at both ends of the egg and blew the yolk and white into a dish to cook and eat later for breakfast. She's not going to waste any part of these eggs, guys. So she's blowing out the inside so she can cook that later. Then she held the egg up to the morning light and marveled at its beauty. After that, every morning for 12 mornings, there was another egg, each more beautiful than the one that she laid the day before. Soon, Babushka had enough eggs to take to the festival in Moskva. How wonderful, she thought. A miracle has replaced the eggs that were broken. Look at those designs. They're very similar to the ones that she had created in the first place. Hold on, baby. Sorry, guys, Avery needed me. So spring is here, my little friend, Babushka said to Rechenka the morning of the festival. Soon now you will be flying off to the north with your flock. She bustled to the hearth fire and brewed some of her most favored tea. The two shared a saucer of tea with kulich, a sweet Easter bread. She covered each piece with pashka, a spread of cheese, butter, and raisins, which is also an Easter traditional thing to eat. They savored each bit together. One for you, one for me, Babushka chanted. Da, da, my little friend, I shall sorely miss you, but you are a wild thing, and a miracle sent you to me. It will not be right to ask you to stay here with me forever. Can you imagine how she must feel right now? Maybe thinking about saying goodbye to her friend, even though she knows it's the best thing for her? When Babushka left her little house, she took one last look at Rechenka sitting on the doorstep. She waved and then took determined steps for Moskva with a basket of her precious eggs. Now remember, at the beginning of the story, she talked about how those eggs won first prize. Do you think Rechenka's eggs are going to win first prize? What do you think? Let's find out. She crossed Liptov Valley, where the caribou mothers were walking their newborn calves. A miracle, she thought. New lives, a miracle. I love how positive Babushka is. She's always looking for positive things around her. She crossed the bridge over Moskva River, and soon she could see the onion domes of old Moskva. The festival was bright and exciting. There were goat carts selling kulich, processions, dancers, jugglers, and laughing children playing and running. Babushka showed her old friends the eggs. Her eggs are the most beautiful in all Russia, they thought. Look at them, the elders said. They almost glow, as if the paint is part of the shell itself, which we know it really is. The judges picked Babushka's eggs as the most beautiful. Babushka was so happy, she beamed as she looked at the first prize, a feather bed quilt. How nice. As Babushka made her way homeward, a honking flock of geese flew overhead. Babushka gave them a long, lingering look. She wondered if Rechenka was one of them. Do you guys think Rechenka's one of those geese? flying home. When Babushka arrived at her home that evening, Rechenka was gone. Alone, she put the new quilt on her little bed. She brewed a cup of tea, ate the last of the kulich and pashka, got into bed with her favorite book of poems, and drifted off to sleep. She hadn't noticed Rechenka's basket. Let's look at Rechenka's basket. What's inside? Did she leave something special for Babushka? But that night, Babushka was awakened from a sound sleep by an ever so small sound. It was coming from Rechenka's basket. She hobbled closer and saw a glorious egg, but this one was different from all the others. It quivered, and quivered means it shook. It quivered and moved. It made tiny muffled sounds. The egg jumped, bumped, rolled, and pitched in the basket. What is happening? It's hatching. Then there was a crack, and Babushka could see the very special gift that Rechenka had left for her. All a miracle, Babushka said. And this little goose remained with Babushka always. Now, why do you think this goose stayed with Babushka instead of Rechenka? Do you know? It's because Rechenka was a wild goose. She needed to go back to the wild. But the new baby goose was not a wild goose, and it would probably need to stay with her. All right, I hope you guys liked that story and liked seeing another culture represented with those Russian words and some Russian customs. When I was a little girl, I remember listening to this story on a TV show called Reading Rainbow, and it left such a big impression on me. I loved the way they explained everything, and they even showed Patricia Polacco actually painting an egg using the art technique that they use in Russia. So I'm going to try to link in the description some of those video links to see that Reading Rainbow episode maybe, and maybe some video clips of Patricia Polacco, because she still would create these special Russian eggs, Easter eggs. They're called pasanki eggs, and they are made with a special art technique that is incredible. You've got to see it. So check the description for any of those links. And thank you guys for listening.